Okay, let's start. Seems like I'm the final speaker. Later on, you'll visit the bar. I'm Darius Sebekina. I'm a product marketer in the Bison company, Bizone. I'm responsible for Bison Threat Intelligence Portal. That's why I've been invited here on this stage, and we'll speak about the Steelers' place in the modern cyber threats environment. I would like to have this disclaimer: please do not hack anything. You may end up in prison. Anyway, why do you think Steelers are a real important threat in the modern world? How they actually spread, how much it costs, how the hackers earn on them. We would like to speak about this type of malware, like Steelers, and the ways that we use to protect against such cyber attacks. So why do you think Steelers are important? In actual fact, I was not the only one who asked this question, because the Hunter's company last year, out of all of the threats in 2024, claimed that Steelers had been involved in more than 1/4 of the incidents. It's a real big thing. Kaspersky claims that over the last 2 years, we started having Steelers 6 times more frequently in cyber attacks. Why do you think it happens? Because there's a very low entry level. It looks like a very nice and pleasing software, so they would not have to write any specific code to use this software. So there is also spread on this malware as a service type. By paying some petty cash, they get this software and also a manual which prompts the user how to use it. They get regular updates, they get feedback from the developer, and many other things. So the subscription fee is low and the prices are not that high either. So most of the hackers can afford this software. So using the Steelers, they can easily earn some money, and it makes it economically lucrative. And we know that most of the hackers' attacks are done just to steal your money. So the Steelers market has become huge. They started specializing, for instance, in stealing the money from crypto wallets and credit cards. Crypto has become much more convenient for the crooks, by the way. I'm very distant from gaming, but you know, there are some things there in games that cost millions of dollars. Also, there are hackers that use the data they acquired with the attacks using Steelers. So the brokers get initial access and they resell these access rights, and thus earn money. Speaking in terms of the corporate segment attacks, the Bison company states 1/4 of the attack with the use of legitimate accounts or with the compromised access with the use of the legitimate accounts. I would like to show you a few examples of such cyber attacks. One very big case of Snowflake, which is an American vendor. In 2020, the hackers had access to one of the contractors of the company, and they stole the customers' data of the Snowflake's customers. They were kept at zero service, and after 4 years, they used the data to penetrate the Snowflake's network. They stole masses of data, and it became apparent because there was this ad placed at Bridge Forum. They spoke about 30 million strings of customer data taken from one of the bank, and this bank was obviously a client of the Snowflake company, so the company was actually damaged heavily. Their shares dropped, and 30 and a lot of data leaked into the network. Here is the next one. The attack versus Schneider Electric. It was a French company. A few years prior, a person who was in India, their employee, wanted to download Adobe Premiere, which was hacked. After a few years, the hackers asked for $125,000 worth of ransom in order not to make the information public. So we can say that 125,000 ransom in French baguettes, because Schneider Electric is a French company. It was a very prominent case. Also, there's this attack at Royal Mail Group. They used this British Postal Service data. They contacted it through the contractor, and in April 2025, you saw the Bridge Forum ad. They stole a lot of things, like Zoom conference calls, some personal data was there. They were MailChimp subscription. There was a lot of sensitive data, 144 gigabytes worth of data, and they left that at breach forums. Initially, the stealer-based attack can go unnoticed, but in a few years, companies may end up with consequences. Let's speak about the economic component. Yes, it's a huge market, and today it has become so huge that the hackers started getting specializations. Some of them specialize in the development of this type of malware. Then there are traffickers. The traffickers that are responsible for spreading this stealer at as many devices as possible. Then we are talking about log parsers. So after the stealer has stolen some information, you need to process this information, find some valuable data in order to subsequently start the next phase of the cyber attack or resell this data with profit. Of course, if there is supply, there is demand. Some people buy the logs from stealers, and they use this for their vicious purposes. So, where can we actually buy these things like stealers? First of all, they are sold at shadow forums in the darknet. This is the resource that is very well known. At least the organizers of such sites already have scored some reputation points. They have some of those people that can guarantee that the deal will go through, and such resources are used to buy the contracts where the ads are placed to buy the stealers. The second one is the Telegram Messenger, which has become massively popular. It's simple and convenient and user-friendly app, and it's anonymous, which is important. That's where you can immediately create a bot which would provide you with the download link, and that's where you distribute your logs. It's a popular tool. Some other hackers go even further, and they dedicate websites. They have dedicated websites where they very clearly describe what's this stealer all about, what makes it different from the others, and how you can use it. So such things are a lot more trustworthy. So the customer feels that it's the site of a profound developer who you can trust, and they know what they do. So we've checked the sites, the distribution channels. Right now, let's just see how much it actually costs. So here's one of the shadow forums users says, okay, it seems like that all of the stealers are almost the same. And actually they are very similar in price. That's true. Some of them are more expensive. Why do you think that some of them are more expensive? Could you speak up? Could you repeat your question, because we didn't hear it? Yes, and these things say that, yes, we can easily detect it, and that's why we sell it. Okay, this is Mac, and this is Windows. You know, if you do something for Mac, you can't sell it cheaply. There are fewer Macs, and not too many developers can work with the Mac platform. Anyway, how do the hackers earn their money using stealers? Cut the long story short, I should say. He says, I launched a Facebook campaign, and with the 100 clicks, I have 8 downloads, and out of 8 downloads, 3 people have their AV software launched, and the remaining ones had no banking data. And also, I should say that only I have 2 people converted. But you know, the 2% of the conversion out of 100, it's a good outcome. So how do they earn with stealers? First of all, it's the data. The data is just like new crude oil that you can sell. So where can you sell and resell these logs after the stealer has worked? First of all, it's the shadow forums where these ads are placed, and they have these lots split into different categories, or assembled into one file. There are also marketplaces, and the marketplaces are far more advanced tool which allows people to obtain this data, and they put together the data about different users. So they have this preliminary processing of the data. They split them into the categories, sectors, groups, so the buyer can obtain this information far more easily, and it costs more. Telegram, of course, a lot of stealers have integration with Telegram. That's where you can buy everything in just one click. And there are other resources like log clouds, where you can buy a subscription for a certain type of data. Like, for instance, here we have the art house, and here are the logs of social media plastic cards, and it only costs you $150 a month. So the entire scheme with corporate attacks works like this. There is a developer of a software. They offer this software, the stealer, at certain sites. People buy it, and then the person who buys this stealer starts spreading it onto the victim's devices, obtain the data, and then they sell this data at some of the sites, and the broker then later uses the data for the next phase of the cyber attack. So after we've learned about and after we've learned how much they earn there, let's speak about the functions of the stealers. The stealers, there are plenty of stealers. In actual fact, their functionality is similar, and sometimes it may be difficult for the poor attackers to choose the one. Well, here are their stickers. Would you please advise the stealer? And people share their views on the forum on which one to select. In actual fact, the point here is to collect the data from the infected device. More or less, they operate the same. Some of them are Windows-based, some of them Mac OS-based. So they would have to be more tricky and invest into promotion and marketing and creating logos, for instance. So some people were used just to create their corporate style. So, but anyway, despite the different looks, they are more or less the same. What kind of data can a stealer collect? Credentials, for instance, logins and passwords, authentication that can be used for attacking your cryptocurrency wallets, for instance. Sometimes they can directly steal the funds and the credit cards that are becoming less and less popular. Some of the stealers can handle work with the password managers and collect files for the appropriate mask. What kind of techniques are used by the stealers? First of all, the malware should get and penetrate the device by bypassing the protection, code obfuscation, etc. So first of all, stealer is the instrument for data collection, so the credential access also exists. This data needs to be collected, and then it should be sent to the Telegram Messenger bot for later resale. Let's take a look at the functionality of stealers and techniques used by stealers. I've collected here a few commercial stealers that you can obtain by subscription, and the subscription-based ones are sold at $200. It supports Windows. The developers claim that their malware can handle lots of browsers, crypto wallets, and passwords, and it has a large functionality in terms of the admin dashboard functionality, because stealing the data is not enough. You need to use the data properly. So in order to be competitive, they would like to add additional whistles and features so that they look different. Initially, some stealers would not operate at the CIS countries, but other modifications would bypass that restriction. Here is an open source stealer which is spread on the GitHub just for learning purposes, but they noticed that in the Russian Federation, so some people just took a look at it, but some people did use it. It's a free of charge one. That's why it doesn't have such functionality like the previous one. All of the data collected is uploaded to Discord through webhooking, so the malicious users can utilize them. And it's got fewer browsers that it supports, and some other functions are also missing, like the ones Medusa had. Here's another stealer that we would like to take a look at. That's the famous stealer for Mac OS, and it's not so attractive like the one for Windows. It has a lot of functionality. It supports different Mac OS applications, like, for example, the keys dump system information, and the admin functionality, which filters the most interesting data. And here's a fun fact. This stealer has become 3 times more expensive since it was established. So Mac OS tools are always more expensive. These stealers collect data and have additional functionality. For example, rat elements, like, for example, that's remote file execution. You can do key logging when they record which keys have been pressed by the user, and find the login password combination through this key logging. Also, clipboard substitution, Clipper. some information goes to the clipboard, and it automatically is substituted by the malware. So our funds do not go to where it's intended to go, but it goes to the hacker. Also, there is a downloading of additional malware. So it loaded the data and then it gets deleted. It doesn't work like this. It's used for the target attacks. Lots of stealers are integrated with Telegram Messenger, or they may be integrated with Discord, and some developers claim that they have additional competitive edge. It's important that they can handle the data they've acquired. They don't just collect the data, but also provide such capabilities. So if we move towards the next part, I should say that they are quite ingenious. I mean, the developers of stealers, they go beyond social media advertising. That Adobe Premiere with crack that I previously mentioned proves that. Some people use here different type of advertising. They promote this through Google accounts and other accounts on YouTube, for instance. They use phishing sites, the ones that copy the real ones, or the sites that spread the cracked software. GitHub is very actively used by malicious users to spread out stealers. If we take a look at the ads, these people, although have already been blocked, offered their services to promote that type of software when they thought, when they told about when they mentioned Google Ads. Let's just take a look at few campaigns. First of all, phishing emails, good old phishing emails. And here's one example of the Sapphire Werewolf group. It was sent by the Sapphire Werewolf group. This is the email with the amethyst stealer. Malwareizing. Here is the first ad at the first position on the Google page, leading to the Vidar stealer, and it does not let you to download the real Zoom, as you may be aware. Popular brands are used to attract users. Generative AI is used here. For example, if you would like to click on these download for Windows, what's going to happen? What do you think? The YouTube ads also have become very popular with the generative AI, and such videos may be generated by AI, and it has a link in the comments, and the poor user clicks on that and downloads the stealer. Here's another method. It's called click fix. For example, the user goes to the site and they would like to get a click from him. For example, a prompt about an error. Here, they need to go through capture. They click this button and then need to press Windows button plus R, then press Ctrl plus V, and then when they click on that, the clipboard records the malicious script. Then they press enter. They prove that they are human because all of the people make mistakes. Apart from the ads, the hackers can use the type squatting technique. When we use the
и попадаем на какой-то сайт, который очень похож на тот, что нам нужен.
When we use the search window to look for something and make a mistake, when we mistype it, so the typo may lead you to a phishing page. So instead of Homebrew, you will install Atomic and Cuckoo stealers for Mac OS through a fake page. And a GitHub example. A developer finds an example of the source code they need, gets it, but together with this, they get a stealer together with the source code. We have read a lot about it, and Kaspersky wrote about them too. Let's speak a little bit about the protection. Why do you think it's necessary to protect against it? What do you think can be done, and which methods can be applied to protect? It's difficult. Why do you think it's difficult? All the corporate network cannot be monitored. Very often, malicious users can use their devices on holiday and elsewhere, so it would not guarantee that this person being on holiday would not want to download the cracked Adobe Premiere software or watch YouTube. So you don't know about all of the devices in your network environment, so it's very easy to miss the download of such a malware. Another thing, malicious users do not stand still. They keep on updating their products. They do preliminary tests at some shadow resources, and a test is run there with 26 popular AV software engines. If the data is loaded to Discord, sometimes it does not look at all suspicious, and sometimes this attack can also be missed.
What are we to do with this? First of all, okay, you may have missed the attack of a stealer, but it's not the worst thing that can happen in case of attack on a corporate network. And in order to avoid further steps, you need to always monitor compromised accounts and the darknet in Telegram and other resources where they're sold. So your goal, the goal of your protection is to be faster than criminals and to detect this sooner than they do. This gives you some time to take measure and to do something about this incident. As we have considered previously, people tend to make mistakes. People tend to click on phishing links. People tend to open emails, and they are using. They're confusing true website with a phishing website. Actually, it's important to know as much as you can. It's important to see as much as you can. And the horizon of knowledge is important. And this is what will help you to avoid this phishing link. And takeaways that we can make here. Indeed, stealers are an important threat today. Everybody talks about identity of security and undermining the data that were achieved, that stealers got access to some time ago. Sometimes it's very cheap or very or free of charge. They are distributed, and if this makes it attractive for those criminals, even those criminals who don't have any specific skills. And modern stealers, if we take a look from the perspective of cyber attacks at corporate networks, stealer has wide functional opportunities, not just gathering data, but also other elements that make stealer an instrument that could be used for attacks on corporate networks. And it's important to defend yourselves from this. It's important to know who is your opponent, and I hope that my presentation today was useful in this sense. And once again, I hope it will make you think about protection from this malware. That's all that I have. Thank you.
Я решила
I decided to give a mascot of one of the groups to the best question. It's a soft wolf. And, a criminal is announcing himself and he presents himself this way, but actually he can look this way. And also I have a book, so you're welcome to ask your questions. I think you were the first one. At least I can see this part of the room better. Thank you. Question about the financial part. Financial part and cybersecurity. Do I get it right that judging by the price of stealers, the target audience are private individuals? Usually, they don't have any advanced protection methods on their personal computers, or employees of companies where there is no mature information security. It depends on the purpose of criminals. I made an example in my presentation. Now hackers have a specialization. If it's a hacker who is engaged in cryptocurrency wallets, then they need to make sure that their malware is downloaded by a private individual. But there's a fine line here, because some of stealers are detected with defenders. Yes, they are detected with a simple defender, true. But first of all, not all of them. And second of all, maybe an employee of a corporate company is back home from work and he's using his personal device and he gets logged into his corporate email. And it doesn't have a two-factor authentication. Exactly, maybe. It may happen this way, exactly. It depends on the purposes of hackers, and many of them are taking effort in order to make sure that their malware is difficult to detect. If it was so easy, then all the Windows defenders would detect everything. I'm just thinking, if there's a bypass, then it can't cost $150. Well, yeah. Life doesn't offer simple answers to complex questions. Question off the mic. Yeah. If a hacker has an opportunity to deliver stealer or binary to me, for instance, bypassing my defense, bypassing some initial barriers, then, well, the price is not $150. It's not shouldn't be this price. There have been these cases. So not all the companies are using the second factor of authentication, and we're seeing the very sad consequences of this. In 2020, the data got leaked, and in 2024, the company was hacked, and in 4 years, nobody even changed the password. From this side, there were some questions. Hello, thank you very much for your presentation. Second, I wanted to invite you to a chat where researchers publish explanations and clarifications of these attacks, and victims are coming and saying, is this vulnerability attacked or not? Is it a stealer? Definitely. Are they researchers? Are you sure about that? It's on Telegram. 100% sure. Questions are the following. I'm moderating chats in this, and this topic is very interesting to me and very close to this area. First, Amos and similar Telegram channels. So you did research, right? Could you hold the microphone closer to your mouth? So you did research. Are there any regional groups, criminal groups that work more often? Where are potential hackers located? What regions that is? It's a good question. Where hackers are located or where victims located? Victims can be located anywhere. It's not a question. And developers can be located anywhere. Hackers can always be located anywhere. Are there hackers in the room? Here you are. I can say that I have not done this research myself. I guess hackers are located somewhere, but I don't know where. I had a case where YC combination team had a GitHub profile, and they have everything filled out, and they would spread and distribute malware infected Zoom links for interviews. So they prepared the profile. It's Y Combinator. It's not just it's not easy to be done, and they did it. So second question: among the listed stealers, which ones were a part of further escalations, and they have connection with APT groups, or maybe in installation of some more complex payloads? Maybe they could open passkeys and attack ledgers and attack two-factor authentication, and which ones are less? Amos doesn't do this, for instance. They take on the first level of authentication, that's it. The thing is that, okay, there's Amos, somebody is collecting data thanks to Amos, but then distribution of this data is difficult to track. No, I don't mean to track. A device is infected, and then this device is sold. So we squeeze all that we can, but access is still there, and we can sell access to this. Maybe somebody can squeeze more out of this. And so stealers, maybe they were primarily in Windows. We can say that there are developers, and there are consumers, and there are those people who are using logs, and these may be completely different people. And so you didn't do this research? No, I never did such a research, but maybe it's worth doing. About Telegram, sending messages to Discord, I saw a sample when the message goes to Telegram bot, it's encrypted into a web page or into Telegram code, or so there was a code and the key on behalf of Telegram bot, it's writing to a channel. And it allows to depersonalize, to DDoS hackers easily, so you can easily see who's on the chat. Have you seen examples of attacks where hackers make these mistakes, which allow to de-anonymize them? No, I personally haven't looked into this. But on the one hand, actually, if it was so easy, then Telegram would be not that popular, but Telegram is very popular these days. Unfortunately, Telegram is not very active banning these people, and victims are not the smartest ones, and it's easy to work with them. So there are two groups that have the same set of adjusted interface, and they have been using it for 3 years. I will forward it to you. They introduced very minor adjustments, but they've been using it for 2 years. Actually, I can say that last year I made a presentation about dark web resources, and from last year, a lot of so there are much fewer accounts of hackers in Telegram. So recently, Telegram management started working on eliminating hackers on Telegram. The third question: using LLM, using AI solutions, AI agents. So before it's installed to the device of the user, but at the point when it's being distributed, what do you know about this? I've seen examples that LLMs are used at the stage of analysis to choose the most valuable, but at any other stage, I'm not sure. When you're using generative AI to create a copy of the website, or I'm talking about defensive. I'm not about offensive. Oh, defensive. Okay. What about defensive? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Many companies, many businesses are saying that they're using LLM now. And once again, it's not my area of responsibility, but every vendor is announcing now that they are using LLM under the hood, AI under the hood. It's a good question. We should look into every case separately. Okay, thank you very much. Hello, thank you very much for your presentation. I wanted to say a few words about security. There is a real case that active sessions are stored in blogs, and the user may be in Facebook or in his bank app for years without logging out. And there's a real case when hackers listen to this information, so computer gets infected, and for instance, computer has access to Facebook only, but then in some time the computer has more and more, gains more apps, and it gets a V app, but Facebook session stays. And for 5 years, the users think it's okay, but actually during these 5 years, his messages are being read automatically, by the way, and he becomes vulnerable. So log out. Colleagues, open Facebook right now and open all your networks and change your password. Log out, log in. What's the question? I just wanted to add, that's it. Okay, thank you. I wanted to ask, first of all, thank you for the presentation. As far as I understand, the price of the stealer depends on the packager, right? Not only on the functionality of the stealer. Are there any stealer producers in the room? No, I don't think so. I mean, if it's written automatically, then it's not detected by viruses. Do you mean an inbuilt? No, the coded, manually coded one. Some stealer developers, they are saying that they have an inbuilt thing. No, I mean, they encrypt their files so much that it's just a file. It doesn't look like a file that's a thread. Until it deploys itself, you can't see that it's a thread. Have you ever analyzed the comparison of stealer's protection and the cost? No, I haven't done this, but in case if they have a similar price range, then I guess high competition will provoke them to improve their malwares and defend them, of course. My second question is, are Windows-based cars the most threatened? What about cell phones? What is at risk? Since Bizon is focusing on corporate networks, so first of all, we're focusing on computers. So the research was focusing on computers, not on cell phones. I see. Thank you. I think you wanted to ask a question. Yeah, thanks. I have two questions. The first one about spread of stealers. To install a stealer, does it need admin rights and basic hygiene, such as no admin rights and installation of modern patches and having antivirus? Does it allow you to be defended from stealers? You see, one of the users says that he installed 8 and 3 of them had antivirus. So what's the conversion? It's always useful to have an antivirus. And about admin rights, I guess I need help from my colleagues from cyber intelligence. I don't think it's necessary. Maxim Antonov, ping test, Sberbank. No, not necessarily. And one more thing. And one more question. You made an example of hacking with the help of stealers when Jira and Confluence data got stolen. But are stealers actually used in attacks on specific apps? For instance, if I have my app, my public app for the market, what is the likelihood that a stealer will be used to steal passwords of my clients? It depends on whether or not they are stored in an encrypted way or not, and depends on the specificity of the app. It's a web app, it's available online. If on this app you're logged in through the browser, then most likely your app may be at risk. I mean, in theory, it's possible, of course, I understand it, but in Russia, are these attacks popular? Are they happening? In case if I have a business, I have a web application, the chance of data theft, how popular is it? I made an example of the phishing letter. where Stealer was spread in Russian Federation, so I believe it is quite popular. I could add, my colleague gave the right answer, that in case if you hash you encrypt passwords, then it's a question to resilience of your hash. Most likely your users will be attacked. I'm talking about attacks on users, exactly. When stealers are installed on users' computers. Corporate? Not necessarily, just regular users. If stealer got installed into a user device, then it can steal the password. What's the question? It can. How likely is this attack? Criminals do steal this, they do attack these apps, but what's the likelihood that they will attack my specific app? Let me put it this way. The likelihood is there. Okay. There's one more question from the back row. Thank you very much for the presentation. Can you see me? Yeah. Little comment about gaming items. Recently, the market of skins for Strike have been calculated, and fair profitability is 40%, and the market is huge. It's millions worth. But you said that there are stealers for Mac and Mac and Windows, but maybe we should use another software so that stealers do not steal anything, or maybe let all the users to use tokens, like physical token, like for Bitcoin, and then it will be okay. And stealers will steal skins for games from students from school. The second factor will help, but if we migrate everyone to Linux, then the import substitution campaign has been underway, but we're still using Windows, Mac. Maybe it would not be bad, but so far it hasn't happened. Or another option to put everything into the cloud, so that the user has token, password, and that's it. So it's Windows, but not Windows. Snowflake had cloud, and it didn't save them. Well, this is Snowflake. It's special. Okay, thank you. I guess the young man had his hand raised in the back row. We're not limited in time, so let's continue. Thanks. Actually, the colleague asked a part of my question. Let me build on the previous question. How often do you come across specialized stealers for Linux? And second, is there any price correlation, just like with Windows and Mac? I cannot say. I think all the examples that I have looked at when I was preparing my presentation, they were designed for Windows and a little bit for Mac.
Хорошо. Кто-то еще? Так, здесь молодой человек.
All right. I have an habitual question. My girlfriend installed the stealer. How do I understand that she has a stealer and some of my data are being stolen? Does she have antivirus? No. She installed it on my device and I didn't know about it. How can I detect that my data are being stolen? You should scan it. How? With a special software that helps. Kaspersky, or, for instance, Kaspersky is already installed. Okay, so Kaspersky is installed, but the data got leaked. Or maybe he's leaking data a little bit. And most likely it will be like it will leak your data, and the only thing you can do is change your password and distrust your girlfriend at least, of course. But I cannot detect that my data are stolen, right? You will learn it afterwards. More questions?
Добрый день.
Так, вот тут у молодого человека была рука, или мне показалось?
Young man had his hand raised here, right? Yeah.
Нет, не говорит.
Okay, sorry. Are there stealers, and what kind of stealers, if so, with functionality of limitations by geographical IP, and whether they are specified on a special area of activity? Maybe they stay away from healthcare industry. If so, then about healthcare industry, how do they make sure they stay away from it? The first part of the question about geographical IP, yes. Medusa, from the start, they had this functionality, but then they stepped away from this. About industries, how is email from healthcare organization different from an industrial organization's email? Well, you have not seen this. No, I have not seen this. Thanks.
Ну, нет, не говорит.
Да, вас заметили, вот девушка уже идет с микрофоном, я не просто тут стою.
You're noticed, and the girl is following you. Oh, you have a microphone, okay. Maybe it's off topic a little bit, but what is the meaning of your print? Are you an ambassador of Medusa? I'm joking. No, I'm not an ambassador of Medusa. I'm just raising awareness about this malware.
Ну и это просто красиво. Ну да.
And it's just beautiful.
Здравствуйте. О, мне
Hello.
Вопрос на
I
самом
guess it's my turn.
Пожалуйста, я не вижу за...
вот здесь.
I'm sorry, I cannot see where you are. Oh, there you are. Okay.
На самом деле вопросик у меня достаточно...
Actually, my question is quite simple. It seems so.
Такие как Stealer, они сейчас обладают таким...
Malware like Stealer have such interesting things as they provide a remote access and they even provide a nice looking console in the browser.
Так вот, почему мы до сих пор классифицируем как
Why do we still call them Stealers but not any other way? Why do we qualify them as Stealers if they have consoles?
такие интересные?
I think they're like a meta product. As some developers say, it's an instrument for APT attack. Why do we still classify them as Stealers? Or is it just because we're used to this? I don't have a clear answer to this question, but it would be logical to assume that from the start they appeared as Stealers, and this is why historically they have been called Stealers. Even in case if they have an inbuilt TV set or coffee machine, it will still be called Stealer and RUT as well. One more question. Oh.
Спасибо за доклад.
The beauty of the last presentation of the day. Thank you for the question, for the presentation. When selling loans to criminals, do criminals sell only those things that they can sell, and do they have a look into them? Is there any information about what's inside there? Does the price depend on that? Again, I want to ask, are there any criminals in the room? Please answer. Finally, you identified yourselves. Since the goal of the criminal is financial, they want to enrich themselves, then they need to see what did they get hold of. This complaining customer who this complaining criminal who downloaded parsed some data, then it makes us think that they do have a look into the logs that they get hold of. Thank you.
Так, кто-нибудь еще или...
More questions?
Здравствуйте, наверное, последний вопрос.
I guess this is the last question. And have you ever checked your business among these stealer detection resources? I cannot disclose this information.
Отлично.
Okay, that's it then. Thank you. No, that's not it.
Я смотрю, все хотят побороться за волка.
I see everybody wants to fight for the wolf, right? You're fighting for the wolf.
Украли данные.
If data got stolen using Stealer, and the data of one of my employees got stolen, but they have not published this yet, is there any chance to learn about this? Until they publish, no, you don't have a chance. If you do not detect it right away, then maybe retrospectively, in hindsight, you will be able to understand it.
Когда вы рассказывали про экосистему,
When you told about the ecosystem, you mentioned that there are some clouds that provide access to certain data. Yep. How likely is is it that data of my employees will end up on a cloud, not in the forum, but in a cloud. They're not parsed yet. On the cloud, they can be in different shapes. You mentioned the platform where this data can be. Through access to this platform, can we analyze this data and can we see that the data of my employees there? Yes, actually, yes. Colleagues from cyber intelligence, this is exactly what they do. And as I said, it's important to monitor data leakages, the authentication data leakages and credentials leakages. Your employees or TI vendors, they are collecting these logs in order to understand what kind of data are there. And it gives you it allows you some time to take action.
Давайте.
Go ahead. Hello. My question is as follows. Stealers can detect can work either on the physical device or virtually. According to you, how efficient is the corporate verification of the incoming traffic and stealers through the sandbox? Check through the sandbox is always relevant, not only in the context of stealers. Of course, it's relevant. Even if stealers can detect whether stealers are launched virtually or on the device. Not all the stealers.
Уля-ля, это все, был последний звонок.
Wow, this is the last call, I guess. I would not rely on my memory. I'm talking about the gifts, yeah. Oh, God. There were so many questions. I wanted to say, let me just give it to the last two people asking questions. Well, life is unfair. Life is unfair overall. Let me give the book for the last question, and the one before the last one, I will give the wolf. Well, but the book and the stickers. Stickers go together with the book.